There's a packet in front of you that I'll just invite you to go through later, and in it is just kind of some glossary of items, some potential calendars that you can share with kids just to get their thinking squared toward looking at college. Before I go on though, I want to ask you two questions. And I would appreciate your answers so that we can give each other language as we talk to these kids that we want to talk to about college. You're going to go out and you're going to tell people that you would appreciate it if they would consider going to college. And they're going to ask you a question. They're going to say, why? Why should I go to college? Which is a great question. So what's your answer? Why should somebody go to college? Any thoughts?
Two reasons.
Go.
One is you're a much better person, so that in conversation, if you have a liberal arts education, you're going to be able to talk to everybody. You're going to know a little bit about everything, and you may end up going into a field that you had no idea you were good at. That's what happens when you go to college. Most people end up going into a field they never thought they'd go into.
So it enriches you as a person in ways that you might not even anticipate.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. What's the second reason for going?
And the second one is the economics are very clear. You earn more money if you have that advanced degree.
So part of it is financial and part of it is personal.
Right.
Why else go to college? Great answers. There are more answers. Why go? Yes, sir.
I think it was Elder Nelson who said something to the effect that education can help you to serve better.
Yeah.
You know?
Great answer too. Why else, Jim?
It also makes us better parents, even if you never use your degree for a career. It makes you a better parent if you have better education.
Absolutely. Elder Oaks said that when he was president of BYU. He said, even if you never go out and work professionally, which he did not discourage women from doing, he said the best work you'll do with your degree is within the walls of your home. He said that to men and women. Yeah, another great reason to go to college, to be a better parent. Why let's go? Yes, sir.
I think there's at least two additional ones. One is it helps you get in good habits, hopefully,
You bet.
right? If you're going to class and
Sure.
doing your own.
Have to get out of bed.
Yeah.
Have to read something that you don't want to read.
Although I definitely had roommates that developed bad habits. And I think also it gives you a good set of friends, of people that are trying to make something with their lives, and hopefully dating some of the people that you're going to class with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it expands your knowledge of like-minded people with serious and similar goals, right?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. One, two.
This ties into what several things have been said already, but just it increases your independence for most people. It's the first time you may or may not live away from home, but at least no one's forcing you to go to class anymore for the most part, and you are deciding what classes you take, right?
Yeah.
Things like that.
So true. So true. Yes, ma'am.
Again, I think this just ties into what everyone else has said, but it just develops life skills. Just being able to get up in the morning, being able to cook breakfast, being able to do laundry. I grew up in a hyper-functional home, and I still was sorely unprepared to live on my own.
Yeah. Yeah. So true, right? And it forces you into that mode. All excellent reasons. So make a mental note of that. So when the kids that you're working with say, well, why should I go to college? Those are all extraordinarily good reasons to say why. So presuming that you have silver tongues and you can convince them, what might be arguments that they might bring back that would suggest reasons that they can't or shouldn't go? What might they say? What might get in the way of their going?
I imagine most of them will start with money.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. What else? What else is an impediment to going?
I've got to stay home and take care of my family.
Yep. Yep. My family has put up with me for years and years, and now it's my turn to help take care of my family. And part of these kids are so driven to do that. And it's not a weakness, it's a strength. It's a fealty, a loyalty to their families that they feel.
What's the overall parental support? Whether they see the need for the children to go, whether it's that they want them to stay there to help them or not,
Yeah.
or just get working and start into your career or a life. They don't see, maybe they haven't gone to college or whatever, but they don't see the benefit of having them leave to go do that.
Yeah, so it might not just be the kids, it
Might
might
not
be
be the
really
kids, it
coming
might be
from
the
the
family.
parents, right? Yeah, and I did just fine, I never went to college and I'm doing fine. Yeah, so that kind of attitude is something that you might have to work with and do so in such ways that you don't offend the parents, but rather open up their vistas to what can be out there for their children. Because I can't think of a parent that doesn't want their children to do better than them. That's kind of inbred into us as parents, it's inborn in us. And a lot lot of people see that as them getting out and getting to work to be able to produce and make money and have their own place. They don't stop to think that the kids can go so much further if they take an investment of time at college. So that might be something you have to work on too, is to convince the family members that there's an important reason to go on. But presuming that you can, these kids are still in high school and they have to build some skills. Michael, was there something?
I was just gonna say, just general fear
Oh, yeah.
too. I mean, like it may be leaving home, it may
Yeah.
be away, it may be going off somewhere where I don't know anyone and I've had trouble making friends in the past, and how's that gonna be? And do I have the skills to be able to succeed in a harder level class, those type of things?
Yeah, because part of it's fear of the unknown, and part of it is fear of doing more school. Because a lot of kids haven't loved school, you know, and depending on their setup in their high school currently, it may or may not even be a place that should earn their love, to be honest with you. Because some of the high schools are not the places where you went to high school, believe me, they're different. But it's the kids' only exposure to education. And so they don't even have an appreciation for what an education can be, because for them it's a daily different experience.
I was gonna say also leaving your friends behind.
Yeah.
Like at my high school, none of my friends were going to college.
Yeah.
And so it was
Yeah.
weird that I was leaving to
Yeah.
go to college.
Absolutely.
Especially boyfriend, girlfriend.
Oh my gosh, yes. And those entanglements will hold kids just like iron. Fortunately, we have a lot of local choices, so kids don't have to go far away. Stanton did a great job of putting, I don't know if it was you, Stanton, or the young men total to put together the spreadsheet on the back of local colleges. And there are a number of really great choices. You have to have younger eyes than mine to read it, actually.
Yeah, you'll get an electronic copy, so it's not so microscopic.
Yeah, the electronic copy actually works. And so look those over. There's some they did a really nice job of putting together information not only about church schools, and there are a variety of CES options that I would really encourage you to point the kids toward, but there are a lot of great local options. Lots of community colleges here in the Bronx, here in northern Westchester, that are really close for the kids and can offer them great opportunities. If you have one that's not on there that I might have you jot down, if a kid wants an experience where they want to get away a little bit but not too far, and they're not sure they want to take on a four-year school, there is a community college that's about an hour and a half north of here in Sullivan County, and ironically enough, it's named Sullivan County Community College. They have housing right on campus. So kids can have that living away experience and yet not be too far away. There is a ward or branch, I'm not sure which it is, in Monticello. I looked it up, it's 10 miles away, easy to get to. So there's a church connection that's close and an easy connection to a nice school.
I really have to put a plug in for Mercy College too, that's not on the list, because our focus is underprivileged students from the Bronx and Yonkers, and we have.
They come on the train.
Yeah, Mercy's another great one, easy to
But we
get
also,
to.
easy to get to, and we have remedial classes. Our focus is students from the Bronx and Yonkers.
So Mercy's another one that should be on that list.
And as you come up with schools,
Yeah,
let us know, I know, and we're gonna try to grow the spreadsheet, so.
Yeah, good.
So lots of choices here locally. Part of the adventure though can also be going away, so encourage them to think about going away. But before we even go there, you've got to somehow confront with them the idea that going to college involves more books. And how do they feel about books, and how do they feel about their study skills, and do they know how to study? Do they know what that even means? Do they have an organization? Do they have a time when they study? Do they hit it every day? How long do they spend? So you can get to some really foundational questions about how they study that will help them prepare for going on. One of the greatest reasons kids fail once they hit college is that they're plunked down in this atmosphere with a ton of freedom, no structure, and an expectation that they take care of their own business and they have no knowledge of how to do so. So some of the best work you can do is just helping them review, how's high school going for you? How do you study? What's your plan? So setting up some study skills with them, regardless of whether or not they actually go to college, is the best thing you can do right now for them to help them know that it's serious. There have been some studies done. On the first page of this thing, one of the first things I talked about was preparation. 9th grade, and I put 4th grade in brackets through the 12th grade, because it really is a high school proposition where you really help kids prepare for college. And yet the folks that do this full time have gone back and discovered that it really is in the 4th grade where kids make the preliminary decisions of whether or not they're going to go on to more school. And you see kids turning when they're 9 and 10 years old, either towards school or away from school. and the harder they turn away, the further a dream it is. So no matter if you go into these houses and there are kids there that are younger, encourage them that they can also be thinking in ways that can lead them towards school, not away from. A site that you should jot down, collegeboard.com. I have a love-hate relationship with the College Board. College Board are the folks that put together the SAT test, which may or may not have been your friend when you were in high school. So I'm anti-SAT, but I am pro-College Board. They do a lot of wonderful, wonderful services. So if you sit down with your kids and you take them to this site, go over here to the box that says for students, they can do a college search. We can have them look about majors. We can encourage them to learn about cost and financial aid, about how admissions works, about the types of things that are available for them socially, about what housing is like. So if you're back at this home page and you take them to a place for students, what I like about this is they go down and take them to the SAT button. They can get a free sample question. They can get a full free practice test for the SAT. Or they can take an online course. The online course is $70. And for that, they get a lot of personalized information. As they take questions online, it's a decision tree program so that if they get it right, they get a next question that's a little bit harder. If they get it wrong, it takes them to an explanation of the way the test question was constructed, what they're really looking for, how to study for that kind of question, how to prepare for that kind of question, how to answer it correctly, gives them a little tutorial, gives them another test question. So they can do a lot of work in this online course for $70. If they want to do that by paper, there is an SAT study guide they can buy for $20, and it has 10 practice tests in it, and they can do that for $19.95, which is a great preparation. And they can come back to free sample questions. There's a different one every day, and as I say, there's a free full practice test.
Does it also help them choose colleges based on majors?
It does. One of the things that it'll take is it'll take them through academics and talk to them about what the choices are. One of the other things I wanted to get to is they will do a timeline, but say they want to take the SAT, it gives them a date to take the SAT by, registration deadlines, what they have to go through to get it. They can look at subject tests. You guys may know those as achievement tests. When's the best time to take the subject test? Get a test taking schedule. What's nice is they can actually, this will ask them kind of specific questions about where they are in school and what they should be thinking about at a given age. If they're a freshman, if they're a sophomore, if they're a junior, if they're a senior, it gives them different things to do at every grade level. And they're really detailed, and it's a great calendar. So I would encourage you to go on to this College Board site. And let's say you guys are working with juniors and seniors mostly. In the junior year, they should take the PSAT. They should have already done that. If they didn't, it's too late and they can't do it because it's only given in October. But they would take the SAT in the spring. If you click on that, it'll take you back to the SAT and talk about how to practice for it. How to get ready for the SAT, talks about that. Taking the SAT, tells them how to send the scores to colleges, how to look at scholarship programs. So it's got great detail at every grade level of things that they can do to get ready for college. The other site you want to write down is act.org, which is the other college entrance exam, and if you lived in the West or in the Midwest, that might be the test that you took to go to college. Any idea why a kid would take one or the other, by the way?
Depends on what school you went to.
That used to be true, because schools used to have a preference, no longer true. Every school will accept both tests, so that's no longer true. But they are different.
I scored a lot higher on the ACT than the SAT.
Which is so true for about a third of the kids in the country. They score way higher on the ACT. And the other third does way higher on the SAT, and for the other third it's a wash. The basic difference is that the SAT is a reasoning test, which means that, first of all, you got to figure out what the crud are you asking me. The questions are not direct, they're kind of around the bend at the kids, and they require that the kids have an ability to be able to interact with the question in such a way as to figure out what it's about in the first place and then answer it. Most kids can do that, but it takes time to do that, and it's a timed test. The ACT is much more direct. It's just, do you know this or not? It's a more curricularly based test. Easier for a lot of kids. And so I suggest that you tell your students they can get a practice test of both. They can go on to collegeboard.com and take a free SAT. They can go to act.org and do a free ACT. and just see which one feels best. Which one do they like best? Then that's the one that they should practice on. I'd still send them back to collegeboard.com, which does the SAT, just to look at the calendar and the preparation pieces, but they don't have to take the SAT test, they can take the ACT instead. And so if you're working with kids that are juniors, that's where you should be pointing right now, is to be looking at which test you want to think about, the SAT or the ACT, and get them to take a test this spring. And then get them to think about the notion of why go to college, what's it about, what can you get out of college, and have the conversation that we started with. If you start there, that's the best thing you can do for your juniors. And then they're savvy enough to be able to go online, and you can help them get to the sites as outlined in this packet and on the spreadsheet that the young men put together for sites for the colleges. Every college has its own homepage, and they're getting to be really excellent. If you lose these references, just Google the name of the school, and it'll take you right to their homepage. So you can start to excite the kids about going away and seeing what it's about and seeing what is really out there for them. You're just giving them a taste. If you're working with kids who are seniors, they've got to apply now. There's an SAT on Saturday that they can still take, although it costs them a boatload of money to do a standby fee. They might want to do one in March. They might want to look at schools that don't need them at all. If they're going to one of the local schools, one of the community colleges, they don't even need to take the SAT yet. They can take it later just before they get there for class placement. So it's not too late. They can go ahead and apply to the local community colleges. They can even apply to some of the local colleges still until March 1st. Some have an April 1st deadline.
Mercy
And
is
some of them-
rolling.
Some
We
of
have
them,
to take students a week or two after classes start.
yeah, that's right. We'll roll all the way through the opening of
Yeah.
school. So even if they're seniors, don't let them think that it's too late. They can sign up, and most of the community colleges are open admission, which means that they'll take anybody who has either a diploma or a GED. They don't even have to have earned their diploma. They can be working for their graduate equivalency degree. And they can do that at college, so they don't even need a high school diploma to apply. But the most important work I think you can do right now is threefold. One is study skills. Secondly is enthusing them about the idea about even going to college and the notion of going and why you would go. And the third is to open their eyes as to the possibilities of specific places that they can work. And all this packet is information, just details toward that end and toward things that will help them prepare. But those are the three big things I think in my mind. And if you do that, I just applaud and commend to you what President Taylor said, that we will open vistas to them that will change their eternities, because we will change literally the way that they look at the world. That you might do that is my prayer in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
And to help them figure out how to pay for that. Brother Dowd.
My name's Brother Dowd. We embarked about 5 years ago at the request of the state president of Westchester State to institute or create a scholarship fund into the perpetual education fund of the church, because we saw a need primarily in the Bronx. If you look at our state, we span some of the richest zip codes and the poorest zip codes in the United States. So we thought that we could, as members of the church, use the resources available to us within the state to benefit the kids who are in those poor zip codes who need some help. And really to create, at the very least, a hope that they could go to college. And so we have been working at this for 5 years, and to some success. We've given out scholarships to 22 students over the last 5 years that exceed $80,000. And last year, we gave out $25,000 to 12 students. It has grown from a handful of students applying for the scholarship to last year, I think we had 14 who applied. So we're very proud of what we've done within the scholarship program, and yet we see a continued need. Because the net of kids that we're really helping could be a lot bigger. And the kids that we get into school and help, we could help more effectively, and we could start earlier, and we could give them better direction. We have kids who really struggle with English as their second language. We have kids who really don't have a role model of anyone in their family who's ever gone to college. They don't know the SAT, the ACT, when or where to do it. Some of them don't have the money to even apply for it. You know, some of them are single families where the kid needs to stay home and watch after their parents. There's some real challenges to their application and getting them into a college. Realistic and unrealistic. Some of them are looking to $40,000 schools when, you know, their parents drive a delivery truck and clean houses. Even if they were able to get in, it cripples their family, the cost of getting in. You know, and a lot of them are not citizens of the United States. Also a major hurdle, because you can't get federal funding or federal scholarships for non-US citizens. But there are other alternatives. There are scholarships for students outside the United States. We can help them, but we need to help them early, and we need to get on them. And at the very start, the most important part of this whole thing is give them an example of somebody and some reason why I should stay in school, I should study in high school, and give me the hope that someday I can afford to go on and improve my life. And we have seen over the last 5 years, kids who can barely apply for the scholarship, and you know, we have a scholarship form that we hand out to the kids, and you know, I'll leave a couple with everybody here. But it's very, very easy to give you your transcripts from high school, get a recommendation from somebody else, and write one page on why this would be good for me. They struggle with that. They struggle with just completing that in some cases. You can help them. You can be a guiding light in terms of if you want to go to teaching. What's the best school for you? What can you afford to do in combination, not just tuition, but staying at home, helping your family, and the tests, and studying in high school, and being prepared to go to college. And it may not be BYU Idaho. It may be a local school. It may be a trade school. We're willing and want to help every kid who wants to improve himself and his family in the next generation. And so anything that you can do, any guidance you can give them, any example you can set for them to give them the hope that they can move on, we're doing our very best to help provide a boost. But we can't spend $40,000 on 14 kids to get them through Pace University or Harvard, whatever. And that would be great if we could. And we're obviously all the time trying to raise the money, but getting more realistic. These SUNY schools, stay at home and go local. For kids who are needed at home, that might be a better alternative from them than going to BYU, even though BYU is a great deal for members of the church. So your guidance, your help in thinking through the obstacles that confront them individually would be a great blessing to each and every one of them. And I say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.